Right then. Hello, willkommen, bienvenue. It's time for another Armis Inquisition episode 414 on Sunday, the 8th of March, 2026. I'm Phil.
I'm Ben.
And I am Matt.
And tonight we're very happy to be joined by author, researcher, naturalist, not naturist, naturalist, and returning for third appearance, maybe?
I would say it's the triptych.
I think it's a hat trick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Bernie Taylor's with us. How you doing, Bernie?
Life is wonderful. I was in the UK back in January.
Oh,
we had just finished the Camino Santiago. You know the Camino Santiago?
Yeah.
In Spain? But we started in Rome.
What?
We started in Rome. We took the long route.
Wow.
And we went around the French Riviera, we went to Barcelona, around the bottom of Iberia, and right up to Vigo. And we finished the pilgrimage. It was a lovely cruise, and the cruise then went across to Portsmouth. We went to the Henge. So we had that spiritual experience that one has when they walk the Camino de Santiago. We had
Did you make it?
We had the journey.
Did you make it to Avebury?
We did not. We went to the Henge, of course, Stonehenge. Yeah. Did you all know that there's more than 1,300 stone circles in the UK?
No.
You guys knew that, right? You're
loads.
British. You should know that.
I know there's loads, but I didn't know it'd been counted. I bet there's more, Bernie.
Yeah.
And they just...
Well, the farmers walked away with the rocks.
Yeah. Or maybe they've been buried or, repurposed. These things were torn down over the eons and used in different buildings, you know. So, it's a real centre for megalithic activity, the British Isles, isn't it?
And the Stonehenge Monument is a major center for tourism. Millions of people go there per year. Yeah. I went there 20, maybe 25 years ago, and there was no museum. There was barely a parking lot. Now you take the bus from the parking lot.
That's right.
To the Henge. Quite the mystical experience.
Did you make it
today we're here.
Sorry to interrupt, Bernie. You said you were in January. Did you or December? Did you make it during the equinox, where you can? The solstice, where you can actually go in where the stones are?
Well, the answer to that is the solstice lasts a few days or so in terms of the light, right? But no, we came a few days following after, but no one would have. It's foggy. No one was going to see any solstice sun. So I'm going to tell you guys, I don't think it's about the solstice. I believe today it's about the summer and the winter solstice party. I'm totally game for that. I'm all in. Never miss a party. But I don't really think it was because it's foggy. It was just soup. And nobody saw any solstice, winter solstice.
That's called atmosphere.
Sunrise or sunset at Stonehenge when we were there. It just didn't happen.
Well. So I was interrupting you. You were going to move on to something else then, I think, weren't you, about what we're talking about tonight?
Yeah. So as we all know, Christopher Nolan's book about Odysseus, his movie Odysseus is coming out this summer, July here in the U.S. I'm not sure about the UK. And there's, media out there about the brave Odysseus and his journey across, the Mediterranean, the monsters that he fights and he defeats and all this sort of stuff. And I actually read the book. I read the book in within the last 6 months. And the story in the book is not the story in these movies that we keep seeing or the narratives that we have in other places, Polymeth, the Cyclops and all these sort of things. That's not what the book's about. It's not what the book's about at all. So I did a deep dive into it, and we're going to talk about the truth of Odysseus and the Odyssey. What is it really all about? And when people watch the movie in July, they can compare and contrast and say, which is the story? I mean, there's a great story on the big screen, but is it that in fact the story of the Odyssey? Now, show of hands. Which of you three read the Odyssey in high school?
Zero.
Zero. Have any of you ever told anybody? Have you ever said you read the Odyssey in high school?
No, I'm ready.
It's one of those
today.
People don't. It's one of those books. Nobody reads the Odyssey. It's a very long-winded book, and it's in prose. It's not. But I did read it, and I'm gonna we're gonna today go through the images of the story of Odysseus and what really happened on his journey.
Okay.
So we're gonna I'm gonna
Intriguing.
pull to a share screen
Right, cool. I'll grab it.
and
It won't work now because we tested it 5 minutes ago.
okay, we're gonna do this one. And how we doing, guys?
I told you it won't work straight away. Hang on, one sec.
We're just finicking.
Go back to your
No,
magical crop.
You just keep screen
You keep in
sharing,
the same,
and I'll grab it.
yeah,
It's not that one. It's this one, I think.
Yeah.
Windows 10.
there we go.
There we go. I've got it now. I'll have to recrop it again for some reason. Thank you, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
But we're winning. We'll get there.
Well, he's in
We'll-
trouble now, isn't he? He's on the Epstein list.
Yeah. Prophylactic STD medication for his wife to surreptitiously drug his wife. Allegedly.
Allegedly. But you got a few of those too. You got a few of the
Well, there's a prince, isn't there? There's not a prince anymore.
former prince.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, man.
Yeah.
I've got the screen up now, though. So it's Odysseus's Monsters and Ghosts. Is the first.
Yes,
slide.
here we are. And I didn't title this The Odyssey. I titled this Odysseus, Monsters and Ghosts because as we go through this, one of the things you're gonna realize, these monsters and ghosts are all in his head. This is a psychological journey. And so we're gonna go to the next slide. And we're gonna go slide 2. And we're gonna go to slide 2. And that didn't work, but we're gonna figure this out, guys. We have
Yeah.
Strange.
Together.
Yeah, we're just looking at the first slide again.
so we're gonna oh, there we go, slide 2.
We never tested slide 2.
We gotta work on I was impressed with your slide 1, but we're making progress.
We're rocking.
So-
We're rocking now, man.
We're rocking. It's our spiritual journey. So the kind of an overview of the program. Okay, we're going to talk about the monsters we remember, the ghosts of the underworld, and the return. Because the story doesn't. There's a story beyond what you've ever heard about Odysseus, so we're going to go there. And of course, the story of Odysseus comes to us from Homer, who wrote both the Iliad and the Odyssey. And that's a statue from the Ashmolean Museum. I'm sure you guys go visit the Ashmolean all the time and
Yeah.
put your hand on it and say,
Very famous Freemasonic
Yeah, I broke his nose.
is that true?
museum. Yeah, so the Ashmolean was started by a famous English Freemason called Elias Ashmole.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he broke the nose?
I don't know. Matt thinks so.
Okay,
I'm not
okay.
convinced.
We'll go with it. I like it.
Yeah.
I like the story. Okay. We like it.
Yeah.
Homer was a bard. He was blind. And what he did was he or someone else would play the lyra, which you see in this image, and he would sort of recite it to the music that he played, tell the story. In the 1960s, there were these beatnik types, and someone would strum the guitar, one strum, and then they would, chat for a little bit, and they'd strum again, and that's kind of the same sort of concept. Okay. And there's two interchanging words, Odysseus and Ulysses. They're the same. In Greeks, they say Odysseus. They don't say Odysseus. So if you're ever in Greece and you want to have a conversation, you can say Odysseus, now that you all know. Or you can just write it out in Greek, and I'm sure they would understand. And the two major books of the Iliad, the major works are the Iliad, and there's many books within the Iliad, and that's the story of the Trojan War. And then there's the Odyssey. And did you guys see The Return with Fiennes? No. It's actually, I'm going to tell you, it wasn't that great a movie. He's a tremendous actor, but
Yeah.
It didn't go anywhere.
He didn't return.
No, so that's an interesting. So we're going to talk about that, and so that's one of that movie covered the book, The Return to Ithaca, okay, and that's the books, The Return to Ithaca, that section. But of course, in the movie that's coming out this July, we have Matt Damon, and you see him. He's strong, he's powerful, he's pulling on the the oars with his crew, and so he has his hood off, but everybody else has the hoods on. He's the man's man. And I'm gonna tell you that's a completely bogus story. Okay.
Wow.
And then we have the lost works in the epic cycle of Odysseus. Who knew, right? Who knew? There's actually a bunch more books. And we have those books through the books from other people's books that wrote about it. And the last one, which we're going to, is the Telagony, and is added post Ithaca. So Ithaca, Odysseus returns to Ithaca, but then he dies after he leaves Ithaca, and he dies by the hand of. Well, we'll have to go through a few more slides before we get there.
Okay.
But there are many books, and so when people talk about the Odyssey, and when we in the Odyssey, we're really talking about what Odysseus is telling us, because his entire crew dies. He visits mythical islands. He challenges mythical beasts. This is all in Odysseus's head, the entire story, and people don't seem to get that concept. And he's on a 10-year journey. The Trojan War is over, and he's sailing to Ithaca, which, as you guys see, it's not that far away. And he gets blown off course. And the story that most of what we hear in the Odyssey is his story that he tells the Phaeacians over in Sierra, which would be like near to Corsica today.
Wow.
Near to Corsica. And so he is blown off course on his 10-year journey home. And of course, that's a literary narrative. He doesn't really get blown off course, but the authors of the Odyssey, of these many works, had to come up with a way to create a story that wasn't between Troy and Ithaca in the few days it takes to sail. So it's a literary device to send him off course, which is just like the Wizard of Oz. And you guys, I'm sure, have seen the Wizard of Oz. There's actually, I think there's like 20 or 30 books within the Wizard of Oz series, sort of like the Odyssey, and created through these literary devices. So we're going to talk about Odysseus's account of his adventures. Okay, which we could say it's in his head. Well, when he arrives on the island of the Phaeacians, at this point his entire crew is lost, and he arrives on a raft. He's dressed in seaweed. He has absolutely nothing, nothing at all. Okay, and he meets the daughter of the Phaeacian queen King Alcinaeus, and the queen Arete, and she's very kind to him. She's also he interrupts a conversation she's having with her girlfriends about how to meet a man, how to pick up a guy, sort of. That's kind of story. I mean, it really is. That's the story. And so she brings him to the court of Alcinaeus. And in the center of the image, you can see Odysseus is crying. He's crying because in the court, the bard, not Homer, but the bard Democedes is telling the story of the Trojan War heroes that have died. But Odysseus hears it for the first time because he's been lost for years at sea. Right. And so he hears it for the first time, and they're touched that they say, well, who are you? Who are you? Well, he then tells his story. But in this image too, by another painter, he's still crying. Okay, that's the story. I mean, there's really no. Haven't seen an image of Odysseus standing up telling his story. And at this point, he's got to explain why he's the sole survivor of his ships. Okay, he's lost everybody. Okay, everybody. So what do? You make up a darn good story, and the story is how he lost his crews and his journey to the land of the dead. Remember the land of the dead.
Okay? Right.
And he meets, before going to the land of the dead, he has what I would describe as the three minor monsters in the narrative of the story. But it's the monsters everybody knows: Polyphemus, the Legostronians, and the Sheila. And we'll take a look at them. Of course, Polyphemus. He takes Odysseus' men. He traps them in the cave, and they dress up. They go under the sheep and they sneak out. And then there's a story of Odysseus says, Polyphemus says, "Who are you?" Odysseus says, "No one." And it becomes this very clever narrative. Now, very interesting about Polyphemus, we always see him as a one-eyed man, a one-eyed being. However, in both sort of, let's say, the art from 400 or 500 years ago through ancient times, he's depicted as three eye sockets, but only one has an eye.
Wow.
Okay, because the art. So we have made up the Polyphemus you've seen cartoons or wherever. That's not. He does have one eye, except in the ancient literature he has three eye sockets, but he sticks out Odysseus's crew sticks out the one eye.
Right. In modern representations, is a cyclops with one eye in the center of his head, but that's not
exactly.
Right.
But he has three sockets with one eye, and as Odysseus's men are leaving, Polyphemus says, "Who are you?" And he gives his real name, Odysseus, in Greek, and Poseidon. And he says, "My father will curse you." My father being Poseidon, and that sets in motion Poseidon, the deity god of the Mediterranean, then having revenge on Odysseus, and it's the sea that is his downfall. And we find that again in the Legostronians. They hurl another monstrous group. He's sailing through an area and they hurl rocks on his ship, and he loses men and he loses ships. Were there really Legostronians? I don't think so. Okay, but it creates this. He's creating a narrative of the forces of nature being less kind to him. That's his narrative. And the Sheila is another one. It's a female man-eating sea creature. Okay, and it's got three dog head and a fish tail, and the man pops up out of the center like sort of
That's
out
a
of the
mad
top
one.
of a submarine. Yeah. And the Sheila at the Strait of Messina, so between the bottom of continental Italy and Sicily. It's perhaps it was tight waters, it was dangerous waters, but Odysseus explains it as Sheila, the monster, another monster. And so, are these real? So, Odysseus, in his telling of the story, before he's lost all his men, he and his men visit the island of Circe, and in Greek they call it Circe. And I believe he spends a year in there, and he's enchanted by her because she's an enchantress. She's like a witch sort of concept, but really she's a beautiful woman. They're all getting along, and he says, "Why do I need to go home so fast?" And Circe says to him, "To find your way home, you must first go to the underworld, that is the land of the dead, to meet the seer Tiresias." Okay, and so where is the land of the dead? Well, there's all kinds of narratives, the land of the dead, but all the narratives put it to the Western Mediterranean. And to get to the land of the dead, one has to, navigate the deep Oceanus, which is the Atlantic Ocean. It's the world's end. And there's all kinds in the Odyssey and the Iliad. We can find out where Oceanus is. Okay, and Oceanus was a Titan. And after the war, during the wars with the Titan, he was on the wrong side, and he gets demoted to all the war orders outside the Mediterranean, whereas Poseidon gets all the waters within the Mediterranean. Seems like a good deal at that time, but you got to think, Oceanus is now the rest, all the Pacific and everything else, right? Indian Ocean. He's got all kinds of waters. So that becomes the story of the Oceanus. So we would say that it was really, if it's outside of the Mediterranean, it would be outside the Strait of Gibraltar, because that was the known world of the ancient Greeks. So Odysseus, he sails with his crew to the land of the dead, which would be outside the Strait of Gibraltar, and he crosses the river Styx, and Styx is the daughter of Oceanus. Okay. And everybody's heard this story that you got to cross the river Styx.
Right. Pay the ferryman.
So he
and
gets
all
to
that.
so he gets to Odysseus gets to the underworld, and the first person he meets is Elpenor, and Elpenor was on his crew, member, and Elpenor he tells a story that the night before they left, he fell off the top of the house into the ground and he dies, and he never had a proper burial, and so it's a problem for Odysseus, is because he has to make sure that all his men are at least properly buried. Okay. And so he sails back to Circe's Island. To properly bury Elpenor. Now, everything you've ever heard about the Odyssey and Odysseus, do you really believe that he sailed back to bury a person that fell off the roof in the night?
No.
Is that the brave hero?
Doesn't seem plausible, that, does it?
No.
It doesn't seem plausible at all. But that is what it does say and then, of course, he sails back to the land of the dead.
Nicely done.
But it doesn't seem plausible at all. So why does he have this story? Well, he's got to know. It's his audience. He is selling to the Phaeacians that just as he took care of Elpenor, they need to take care of him. Okay. Because that's how good Greeks do things. So he's telling this narrative. Okay.
Right.
And so Tiresias foretells the future to Odysseus. And he tells him many things. One of the things he tells him is, on your journey, you will encounter the sacred cattle of the sun god Helios. Do not harm the sun god, the cattle. And of course, they do harm the cattle. Okay, his crew does while he's resting or praying, something like that. And so he isn't giving too many things that he's supposed to do and not to do, and he basically blows this one. But what he's also explained, and then his shipwreck. Okay. But what he's also telling in this story is he's not at fault for losing his men and his ships, but rather it was their greed after not following his judgment and leadership. Okay. So remember, this is Odysseus speaking, right?
Mm.
So if you watch the movie when it comes out this July, when it has all these sort of things, and it's Odysseus' telling of the story that has no survivors except himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So he's telling us that's what this story is about. And so we take the monsters, the Legostronians, the Polyphemus, and Sheila, completely at the word of Odysseus. There is no corroborating evidence. Okay. It's his account that we are seeing. Okay. So in the underworld, after he meets Tiresias, he meets his mother, Anticlea. And he asks her, how's my wife doing? How's my son doing? How's my father doing? She tells him, and he wants to hug her. He tries to hug her 3 times, and 3 times she melts away or drifts away because she's a ghost. You can't, obviously, no, you can't hug a ghost. But he so wants to hug a ghost. I ask you again, my Amish Inquisition. Does this sound like the guy who sacked Troy with the Trojan horse?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it doesn't sound. It sounds like the guy made up a story.
What is interesting, I think that's probably a very early reference to a ghost in literature.
Yeah.
The concept of a ghost.
Unquestionably. And then the next 13 ghosts are women. Next 13 ghosts in the Odyssey are women. Okay. And what's interesting about this is that only 4 of them were in the Iliad. So he has a new narrative. He has a new narrative that includes all these women, these ghosts of women, that weave into his story. Okay. And that is the story. Okay. And 9 of them first time appear in the Odyssey. Okay. Now the Greeks, every Greek that has ever heard a bard sing of the Odyssey and the Iliad, they knew all these ghosts. But most readers, actually, I would say 99.99% of readers who read the Odyssey and who watch the movies and the comic strips and all that sort of stuff, they know nothing of these ghosts. They know absolutely nothing. But it's all about these ghosts, I'm going to tell you. It's all about these ghosts. Why did he pick these ghosts first? Okay. That is the question we're going to answer today. And has it fit into the story of what Odysseus wants? Okay. Well, Odysseus has nothing. Remember, he's washed up on the shore with seaweed clothing, right? he has literally less. When people say, "Well, I have nothing left," they've got clothes on their back. Odysseus is wrapped in seaweed. He has less than nothing. Okay. Well, his audience is the Phaeacian queen Arete. That's his primary audience. And she says to him, I shall be able to get together the whole sum that I mean to give him. But this all depends on she buying into what he's selling. Okay. So the story that he may tell to, his buddies at the bar, at the pub, over a pint, is a different story than he's going to tell to the Queen Arete, which brings us back to this concept of all these starting with these female ghosts. Right. Now, I'm going to give you a few of them. One is the ghost of Antiope, and she bore 2 sons from Zeus and went mad and wandered restlessly around Greece. And you can kind of like, well, she was raped by Zeus, and then she went crazy. Okay, that's the story, right? So she was a woman that was disadvantaged, and not only was she disadvantaged by, he tricked her. He was in the form of a satyr. Okay, so Zeus was bad, acted badly against Antiope. And then there's the ghost of Alcmena, who was the biological mother of Hercules or Heracles in Greek. And she's the one who Hera Hercules means like in the praise of Hera, who's the wife of Zeus, who we give credit for being the mother of Hercules, although she battles with him his whole life. But Alcmena is the mother, and she's the tallest, most beautiful woman with wisdom, and so she's on the she's in the A list, like the 4 of us are, right? You guys were at the Bezos wedding, Bezos wedding, right? Or maybe you decided it just wasn't where you wanted to be that day. I get it. Okay.
Leader in the Swan.
Exactly. And there's the ghost of Leda. Another one, seduced by Zeus. She hatched Helen of Troy. Okay. So she's another A-lister for sure. I mean, clearly she hatched Helen, the most beautiful woman in the world, Helen of Troy, and seduced by Zeus. Okay. Then there's the ghost of Phaedra, daughter of King Minos, and of Crete, and she fell in love with her stepson, and Poseidon kills her stepson, and then she kills herself. So she has one could say she had a tragic love, she had a tragic death, all because of men, right? It's all men, the men that disadvantaged her. The ghost of Adriane, daughter of King Minos, helped Theseus escape the Minotaur, and then her jeweled, her crown became jeweled in the night skies, the constellation Borealis. So she's an A-lister. She's the kind of people you want to be hanging out with. This might be the last of the female ghosts I have. The ghost of Prosis. Husband stays away for 8 years to test her fidelity. Upon his return, he disguises himself and seduces her. Then he accidentally kills her with an arrow while looking for the woman he was.
Wow.
Oh man,
the tragedy.
Again, another tragedy upon tragedy.
Yeah.
But Odysseus is shown, he is on the A list, and he feels for women. Okay, the strong women, and then he also feels for these women that have tragic deaths, mostly as a result of Zeus,
right?
And other these sort of heroes. And I think about, when I put this in perspective, I think about there was a picture with me and Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Obama just kind of slipped in the middle between us. Obama wanted to be on the A list. Okay.
Yeah.
And I feel his pain, and we let him in, and we took the picture, and we have, it's all good. We just, but
Hang on a minute.
so
who was taking a picture of you taking a picture?
I travel with a photographer. You guys know, right?
Obviously. Can't
Obviously,
leave the house without the paparazzi on his tail, Bernie.
I got makeup people, project people. People spin my stories on the media. It's,
You got to be your in-house spin doctor.
Yeah.
Exactly. So there's this male ghost. He meets male ghosts, and we would think him heroic male ghosts, right? Agamemnon, Achilles. I mean, guys, you guys know Achilles, a ghost, is a hero, right? Aias, Minos, Orion, true hero, and Hercules, hero, right, guys?
Sure, yeah. The most famous Greek heroes out there, pretty much. Just missing Perseus.
But of course, that is the male narrative. Right? That is the male. So Aridi knows the male narratives, and she knows the female narratives, because they're very different narratives. So Agamemnon, he sacrificed his daughter so they'd have safe sailing to Troy.
Yep.
And then when he returns, his wife Clytemnestra kills him. Okay, so a strong woman defends her child, right? Right. Versus Agamemnon, who paved the way for everybody to go to Troy. Okay. And then there's Achilles. I mean, Achilles, how big can you get? Achilles kills an Amazonian queen, and who was fighting on the side of the Trojans. When he kills at her death, he looks into her eyes and he says, "This is such an incredible woman. This is the type of woman I would like to marry, but I've just killed her."
Bro.
That's the story. And so Achilles, he made mistakes. Clearly made mistakes. But again, this is the story. This is what Queen Aridi wants to hear, right? That he unnecessarily killed a queen, this who everybody else thinks is a great hero. Okay. And well, in the underworld is a very famous line that we have through Homer of Achilles. "I'd rather slave on earth for another man, some dirt poor tenant farmer, than rule down here over all the breathless dead." Well, so he goes to the underworld. Achilles goes to the underworld. It's not such a great place for this great hero, and he regrets that he'd rather be, a tenant farmer. So he got his due. Odysseus is saying that in the end he didn't just get stuck in the ankle, but he got stuck in the underworld, and that's the narrative. You guys have never actually heard that narrative before, have you?
No.
No, and you're not going to hear it in the movie this July either.
I'm sure not. No.
You're not going to hear that story. So Achilles leaves his armor, and Aias, or Ajax, fights with Odysseus to who should get the armor, this incredible armor. And Odysseus wins with words, which is how a woman, I don't want to say woman fights, but how a woman navigates the world of men. Whereas Aias wants to fight. And then Aias kills himself with Hector's sword, which they had taken from the Trojans.
Yeah.
And even in death, Aias doesn't speak with Odysseus in the underworld. Just walks by him, but he's there. He's seen. He's seen there. So he's a bitter person, acts like a child. He didn't get what he wanted. Okay.
Yeah.
Clearly a story of Odysseus has stepped on and downtrodden who was the third greatest hero in the Trojan War after Achilles, Odysseus, and Aias. And then there's the King Minos. He meets King Minos, who is who becomes the judge in Hades. So we heard what Achilles thinks about the breathless dead in Hades. Well, Minos is there as well. And Minos goes, in Ariadne's idea, in her mind, he's a criminal. He has given his children as tribute to the Minotaur.
Right. Yeah.
So Minos is not the celebrity types.
Mhm.
And then of course we have the blind Orion. We have Orion. He meets with Orion. And well, Orion had raped a woman. And then her father blinded him. And that's why he's blind searching for the sun, part of the narrative. Again, we would say he is, well, of course he's a hero. But is he really? But in the eyes of the women, and especially Queen Arete, he's no hero. Okay. But he never met, he made up meeting Orion because Orion at that point is a constellation in the night sky. So he made it up. Not that Odysseus was, intentionally make up something. He's an honest guy, right? He deceived the Trojans with the Trojan horse. I mean, he's an honest guy. So, Hercules. Oh, he's the big hero, isn't he, guys? The major Greek hero. Hercules begins his 12 labors after throwing arrows at his own children and killing them. Remember, guys, that's how he becomes. He basically comes in the service of it's his penance.
Right.
So, and then on his labors, he really isn't such a great guy. Okay, we say, well, he keeps getting tested, and he comes out a hero. And in one case, he's tasked to obtain the belt of the Amazon queen, Hippolyta, and she offers to give him the belt, and he kills her anyway. And then he kills her like concierge, her group. Okay,
right.
And so if you're a Queen Arete here in the story, do you see Hercules as this great hero, or do you see Hercules as this horrible person?
Yeah, he's a bit of a
children,
dick.
kills another queen. He's totally trick. But that is not how we've ever seen Hercules portrayed or discussed. So all these heroes and all these ghosts that we've seen so far, he says nothing about these backstories behind them, as he says he's encountered them in the land of the dead, the underworld. He just gives the name. And when authors talk about this part of the book, they just say, he met a bunch of ghosts. Well, it's not about meeting a bunch of ghosts. It's specifically about the ghosts he met and how they interacted with him, and how those women ghosts had been taken advantage of by men in the past, or that they were in fact heroes in their own right. Or we have these male Greek heroes that really weren't so heroic for most of their life. Okay. And of course he didn't meet Hercules because Hercules is a constellation, so he made up that one as well. Okay. Not that such a nice guy would make up these sort of things, but people do. Okay. So are these really heroic Greek men? Agamemnon, Achilles, the great Achilles. I mean, he's the story. You saw the movie
Troy.
Troy, yeah. Matt
Pitt.
Damon is Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt is he's Achilles, right?
Yeah.
And he's tremendous. He like dances with his sword and is to kill the women in the temple.
Yeah.
I mean, these are Minos and Orion and Hercules. And by the way, King Minos and Minos really has no connection to Crete. So about the
Really?
Minoans of Crete. Yeah, so that was
no one's in the Minotaur.
So the answer to that is that the Minoans in Crete was made, that name was, they're really Bronze Age people, and they were given the name of the Minoans. Okay. Everything you hear Minoan in Crete has absolutely nothing to do with King Minos. Okay. It's completely fabricated. And it's fabricated by an archaeologist. And that's another story for another day.
Fake news.
It's completely fake news.
Right.
And then the tourism industry picked it up.
My wife's my missus is going to Crete in May, and I told her to bring me back something bull related, but I'm guessing it's bullshit, so she shouldn't bother.
No.
I'm sure she'll like. We'll be in Crete vacation in June.
All right.
And I'm looking forward to. We're going to spend one day going to Gnosis, and another day we're going to go to the beach. We're going to go snorkeling.
Cool.
So yeah, all these really heroic Greek men, as you all thought. I mean, starting, was it 20 minutes ago?
Mhm.
Okay, and then they're actually, I mean, I would call these guys this group we just passed criminals. Okay, Greek criminals, but there's actually true criminals that he then sees in the underworld, and he lets Queen Arete knows. And what is Tydeus? And Tydeus, he tried to violate Leto, the mother of Apollo, Artemis, and he spent his time in the underworld being tortured by two vultures who fed on his liver. And of course, the liver
Oh.
grows back, and that's the story that we know with the Hercules mythology.
And someone
And
else.
so
Who
he-
else is it? Who's on a cliff?
So that's in Hercules mythology. That is
Oh my gosh, who is it? He's having his.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Someone in the chat will know.
I have to add a slide to remind
Someone on
myself
a
who that
cliff.
was.
Yeah, it's tied to a cliff, and the
he's
vulture
pecked.
comes.
Poly something.
Oh,
Because he has given up
right.
the secret of fire
That's it. Yeah.
to humans.
Prometheus.
Prometheus. Yeah.
Prometheus, exactly. Yeah. So there's overlapping stories. Which came first? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is that this is guys. He tried to violate a woman, and he spends his eternity being chewed on by a vulture, and his liver keeps growing back. Prometheus story, yeah. And then there's Tantos, who reveals the secrets of the gods, similar to Prometheus. He's made to stand in a pool of water below a fruit tree, both hungry and thirsty.
How tantalizing.
Ha
And that is you guys are good. You guys are good. And
What a tantalus.
and so these are truly these are criminals. I mean, everybody thinks that they're criminals. Then there's Sisyphus, who cheats death he is destined to haul a boulder up a mountain, only to have it perpetually rolled down again. These are the people that in the underworld, the land of the dead. They're people. So there's people who've done horrible, horrible things, and they continue to have that in their afterlife.
Okay.
Bad people. Bad. So 9 monstrous men in the eyes of the Phaeacian queen Arete: Agamemnon, Achilles, Aias, Minos, Orion, Hercules, Tydeus, Tantalus, and Sisyphus. But of course, this is Odysseus is the only one who sees them. So remember, these are the title of this program was Odysseus' Monsters and Ghosts, because they are all his monsters and ghosts. He had a problem with Aias. They fought over the armor, and Aias kills himself. These are deep stories. These are the monsters of Odysseus.
Okay.
So there's 13 notable A-list women, the kind of people I hang out, plus his mother, Anticlaire, who's not really an A-list woman. He's his mother, right? Who he meets first, and then 9 monstrous men. So he does arrive back in Ithaca. And according to, remember, we're still on Odysseus' version of the story, that Queen Arete has sailed him back, and she's given him incredible clothes. And then Odysseus meets Athena on the shore, and she says to him, dressed up as you are, with these fine robes, it's not going to go so well when you walk into your home. Maybe we can have another plan, but before we go to the other plan, you can actually. Sotheby's had this image up for auction, $20,000-$30,000.
Wow.
Cheap.
So it's probably so if you I was this is a famous image.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, you actually do need to, because it's a set.
Wow.
And the second part of the set
Oh, the beggar.
is as part of the great plan, Athena transforms Odysseus into a beggar, and everybody kind of knows that story, right? But so did Arete really do a solid for Odysseus, or did she really believe anything he said, or did she see clever queen saw through all these narratives? He puts all these female ghosts first, to push her buttons, right? Both positively, and that he's on the right side. He tells this story of Elpenor, that he has. They get to the land of the dead. They find he wasn't buried properly, so they go back to Circe's island to bury him. I mean, she does give him. She gives him food because he doesn't arrive starving, and she gives him passage home. Okay. But that's all, because this guy, she realizes, is a scoundrel, and he's a scoundrel. That's what he completely made up this story. There's no witnesses how he lost his entire crew, his ships, and these unbelievable people that he met in the land of the dead that all speak to her, and not to his buddies drinking pints at the pub. Okay. So you guys heard the hero's journey, and Odysseus has the call to adventure, which he has two calls to adventure. One is to go to Troy, and the other one is really this journey home that he gets blown off course. And Joseph Campbell came up with this concept that is ultimately the hero's journey home, which was the return in the movie, The Return with Ralph Fiennes. And this was the hero with 1,000 faces. Of course, Odysseus he's not on the cover, but he's in there.
Yeah.
He's in there. Hercules always is bearded, so Hercules is the one at the bottom. Right. And so
that was Ben.
but is he truly the hero? Well, going on to this narrative of Odysseus really being a scoundrel, and the worst sort of scoundrel, he returns home to Ithaca, and he doesn't know, but Circe births a child from his seed, and the son is Latinus. Well, he goes off on another journey after returning to Ithaca, and Latinus kills him.
Wow.
Yes. So there's karma for you. So really, was there a return in the nature of Joseph Campbell, where you settle down, you become the all-wise and wonderful king? So like the end of every book of every episode of The Lord of the Rings, and the answer is, well, not for Odysseus. And the reason is that it all caught up to him.
Right.
And of course, then he enters the land of the dead, which we don't have that book because nobody went to the land of the dead afterwards to record that Odysseus was there. Okay. But it is quite the story. So do any of us believe that one iota of this narrative that I gave you in the last 54 minutes will appear in the movie The Odyssey?
No, I don't think so. I think it'll be more spectacle and the three monster battles, and I mean there could be some love interest with Circe.
Do you think there'll be a monster in it? I don't know if it'll go.
Do you not think he'll go supernatural? He'll keep it grounded.
I think it'll be grounded, and the monsters will be in human form in some way, or trials in some way, maybe.
Right.
Might be his demons.
But I might be completely wrong,
But I think we can agree that it will be there'll be vast departures from the source material.
Yes.
That's very diplomatic. So you guys have put this what's on YouTube right now, but you definitely want to put this out there, repost it wherever you do post things when the movie comes out, so we can have a story, so people can have a chance to revisit what Christopher Nolan decided to keep out of the movie.
Yeah,
because he's got a bunch of guys with pints in the pub movie, and that's what he's got. So kind of put it all together. Odysseus lost all his men and ships. He created a narrative of monsters to explain his poor seamanship and leadership.
Wow.
Absolute truth. I mean, that's what it is. That is the story. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's no witnesses, and he tells us to Queen Arete. Queen Arete holds the fate of Odysseus in her hands. Odysseus feeds her stories of ghosts from the underworld, which speak to her strengths and undue suffering of women, as well as recognizing male monstrosities, which is true. Odysseus never fully returns home to be a king, ultimately slayed by a child he fathered through the enchantress Circe. I mean, that is that an epic hero or what? And it's just
There's that picture again.
Is this the story is this the story you expected to hear today?
No, he's kind of a loser, isn't he?
Not this guy on screen. He's
Not
great.
Odysseus, I mean.
Oh, he's a total loser. He's a scoundrel. He's a schmuck. He's just not the guy. He's the guy at the end of the bar who's telling war stories of wars he's never been in.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. He's the guy who talks about all these amazing, people in his life that he's only seen on TV. He's a bit of a schmuck, isn't he? But no, that's not gonna be Christopher Nolan's movie. I just don't see it. So anyway, that's is there any questions from the gentleman in the audience that I didn't answer?
The only one that came in that I noticed was whether or not you'd considered Wilkins' Troy in Britain theory. If you ever heard of that.
Well, I said that I read the Odyssey. I did not read the Iliad.
Oh.
So I would have to say that.
Well, next time.
This is what I will say. Yeah, this is what I will say. That the land of the dead is exactly where. Well, it is in the Iberian Peninsula. And because these characters, we did a session a few years back, and we saw characters on this cave wall from 34,000 years ago, and we saw Orion.
Right.
And we saw Hercules. And there's a character, the Perseus character looks like he's pushing a rock, a boulder, and that would then become Sisyphus. So what I would say is that and going back to the kind of the blurb you put on YouTube to warm up the session, warm up the audience, I would say that yes, these are very old stories. These stories, at least the characters are at least 34,000 years ago, and that the land of the dead is in fact up the Iberian Peninsula, where Oceanus lays wait, and one crosses the strait, the river Styx, to then ultimately reach. So these stories are really, really old. And that the characters, we have them. And this is all stories within the night sky. But of course, Odysseus, he knew them, and actually Homer knew them, right? Because Odysseus is Homer's and others' invention. But yeah, it's nothing new under the sun.
Well, the land of the dead, that's often connoted to be the west because of where the sun sets. And so they travel like the sun god Helios dies, he rises in the east and dies in the west. So whenever you hear someone saying the land of the dead, I always immediately think that means traveling west. You're going that way.
So, but then you reach, what you're saying is, I'm in Oregon. When we travel in the land of dead, that's west, and we ultimately reach the deathly place in the UK. That's what you kind of say.
It's San Francisco, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's so I'll have to consider the question of, was the UK Troy? I'm going with Northern Iberia being the land of the dead. I'm 100% on that one. Why couldn't other places be these as well?
Yeah, and we've had other guests throw shade on the historicity of Troy being in Turkey. That's I think that's still up for debate.
Well, I'm not an archaeologist. I don't pretend to be an archaeologist, and I don't need to speak for archaeologists. The archaeologists are like 50-50 on whether Troy, Turkey, is in fact Troy.
Yeah.
And that's, and then the half that say it's not, and the half that say it is, says that Schliemann, the person who excavated, basically totally screwed up the excavation.
Right.
But yeah, it's, but we saw on the map earlier that Ithaca isn't that far from Troy. Okay. I don't know how many days it takes to sail, but I don't think it takes that many days to sail from Ithaca to Troy. But then he gets through the literary device on the way back. He gets blown off course, and then we have his 10-year journey trying to find his way back to Ithaca. It's very much the Wizard of Oz and Dorothy material. For sure.
How? Sorry, go on.
She's making up in her head too. She's dreaming.
Who's dreaming?
Dorothy.
Oh, Dorothy.
They're all her monsters and ghosts in Dorothy's head.
Right. She had a concussion during the storm.
A house landed on her or something, didn't it?
How likely do you think is the Trojan War being a historical event, Bernie?
Well, my source book is the Odyssey, right? And of course, I've read pieces of the Iliad just like everybody else. So I saw the movie Troy, right? Matt Damon seems to think it was real. He played the part well. So the answer is there were wars between what we call the ancient Greeks and people in what we today call Turkey that we used to call Anatolia in ancient times. And so the answer is there were many, many wars between peoples over a long period. The Hittites were there. They had an empire before the Greeks were in Troy, arrived in Troy and Ephesus and these places. Well, the Hittites were there, and they had an empire. So there were people there before, and the Greeks were expansive. And we know that the Greeks ultimately did get to Anatolia. Because we can see all their monuments, their buildings in there, and their narratives.
Right.
So I would say I'd go with there was an actual war. Do they call it the Trojan War? I don't think so.
You mentioned towards the end of the narrative, it's his son Latinus that kills him. Is he tied to the foundation of Latinum, to the Latins, to Rome?
That's actually a pretty good question, and I was asked that in a podcast like 6 months ago, and I looked it up.
Yep.
And I forgot. So I need to put another slide in there who was Latinus so I don't forget the next time. But guys, look, I went through how many slides and I just had all these characters, and
yeah,
I need to add another slide to remind myself who was Latinus.
Yeah.
But
there's another Trojan, what do you call them where you're leaving a war zone?
When you're leaving a war, exodus.
Refugee. There's another Trojan refugee who's often purported to be the founder of Rome, whose name escapes me now, which wasn't Latinus, but I don't know.
Latinus, yeah.
Can't think who
but
it
yeah,
is now.
There are many, as you saw today, there are many people within these, such as in the Odyssey, are both humans, monsters, and ghosts, that they all have their own stories, these backstories. And one cannot really understand the Odyssey unless you understand the backstories of all these characters. And presumably the Greeks knew about all these characters from bards who sang other rhymes and gave their narratives. But yeah, we get the Reader's Digest Cliff Notes versions of things now through the movies, but we've lost the essence of what this thing is truly all about. And it's all in Odysseus's head that he creates to come home as a successful person after, with riches and ships, and
Right.
even after losing his entire fleet and crew and his soldiers. And after, winning the Trojan War. By the way, after the Trojan War, there's other books following the Iliad, and they go off and fight other wars. It didn't end with Matt Damon's death.
Thanks, chat. It was Aeneas. So Aeneas was purported to be the founder of of Rome, but I mean, I think people would argue that's a construct of Virgil's when he's writing the Aeneid to give this sort of royal lineage to the foundation of Rome. It's probably propaganda. But
So what does Latinus go on to do?
I don't know. What's he do after he kills his dad?
Yeah. Well,
I'd
he
like to know.
eventually
I wonder if he killed
goes
him
to the
on the sorry, go on.
he goes to the underworld, the land of the dead, and for killing his father, right? But yeah, it's there's the narrative. It's thought provoking. It says that every story we've ever heard about Odysseus is just not true. It's not only not factually true, but it's not even literally true, because the narrative is about him seeking favor with the queen to cover up for all the mistakes he had over the last 10 years. That he blames his crew on, Poseidon and monsters and the ocean, the elements. But in fact, it's Odysseus he's a total screw up. And that becomes so go see the movie. You know, I don't want to put a damper on the spirit. Just go see the movie, and then once you see the movie, do a tweet and say, hey, I saw the movie and it's totally bogus. Literally from the literal perspective, it's totally bogus. We did a session on this. You can learn the truth.
Isn't Christopher Nolan doing the same thing, though, seeking favor with his investors and this is modern society who are going to see his film? So
not just investors, the male audience.
Right? He's still adjusting the story to fit his requirements, right? In the same way that Homer did, I guess.
Very much, yeah, I would say so. He's courting favor to get his investors. We need the money for the next project and for my new pool and my new, Jaguar or whatever.
Yeah. Odyssey 2.
The Odyssey 2. So I can get invited to Venice for the next Bezos wedding.
Well, we're just rocking up to an hour now, Bernie. Is there anything you feel like you haven't mentioned that you should, or anything you're working on at the minute? Something fresh, or what's cracking?
I've got lots of stuff. I got lots of stuff we can do. At another time.
Yeah.
We can revisit some of these stories, and are they true?
Have you,
are they at least literally true? I'm good with that.
Have you made up with Durham University yet?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh yeah. So how'd that work out? No, I didn't make it up with them at all. It was up to the editor of the journal to clear the air and to fix it in his journal. And he said no. He said absolutely no to me. And so I reported him to his authorities. And he was forced to release another paper. A compare and contrast between my paper and the Durham paper in his journal.
Right.
And not just, his authorities were not it wasn't his university. They were like, the heck with this. It was the European archaeological community. Because my paper, I go back to 2004 in that subject. I wrote a book. Had many things between, but in 2021, I had a paper through an actual archaeology journal in Europe. This that people read, right. And they knew about it. And so they decided that they were going to invent everything by themselves, as I say, for the first time. But yeah, it went really bad for the whole bunch of them. But it was people now, archaeologists, called mainstream archaeologists, don't believe their work. And they were, not only did they plagiarize my work, that can be prior to publication in print, but they made just a whole bunch of blunders that other authors, archaeology types, they just pounced on them. And it really ended really badly. But thanks for having me on the show back then to chat about it and put it out there. But in the end, it was the archaeology community in Europe that chastised them and made things better. And nobody will ever put down that they discovered anything. But in fact, they show that all the papers that have come out since then, actually, and during that time, said that they acted badly. So
Good.
there is
Justice.
Yeah.
There's totally justice. Yeah, they're next to Sisyphus and Tantalus and others in the land. And not today, but we all, it all ends for us, and they're not going to a happy place.
Well, on that happy note,
Yeah.
I think we should let you go, Bernie. It's been good.
Thank you. Now I can go to the pub and get a pint.
Good.
Yeah. It's what is it?
Yeah.
Like 10 a.m. there.
Hair of the dog.
Pubs will be open now, won't they?
That'll be fine.
Yeah.
We're still good. We're 2:00ish.
Oh,
Cool, guys. Thank you. We'll
Yeah.
do another session and
Yeah.
send me the links.
Will
so I can
do.
put it out
Of
into my
course.
world.
email you tomorrow
Yeah.
with some links, or I'll
Yeah.
tag you on social media. But yeah, it's been
Perfect.
great. And the links are in the show notes if you want to check out Bernie's website and his YouTube
Yeah.
channel.
And his previous
Perfect.
videos with us as well.
Yeah, they'll be on the channel. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Stiggy,
Happy-
thanks for the $5.
Thank you.
Happy Sunday, guys.
You too.
Thank you, Bernie.
Thanks, Benny.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your
Great,
Sunday.
bye.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, right. We shall return in 10 minutes, me, Matt, and Ben, and have a chat about what we've just discussed, maybe,
Good old
Yeah.
amongst
chinwag.
other things. All right. See you soon, folks.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.